I knocked on the door of the house where my girlfriend supposedly lived. A woman answered, 3 kids standing behind her. I showed her Priya's photo on my phone. She shook her head. She'd never heard of her. A different family had lived there for years. That's when I knew. The woman I trusted and I'd sent $26,000 to in the space of 2 years didn't exist, and I was standing in Thailand, 8,000 miles from home, with nothing but a hotel room and the wreckage of my heart. My name is Joe. I was 58 when this started. I'm 62 now, and I need to tell you how this happened. I recently retired from General Motors, where I worked as a senior manufacturing engineer for 28 years. I own my home in Detroit, well, almost own it. 4 years left on the mortgage when this all started. I've got about $500,000 in assets. Retirement accounts, the house, some savings. Comfortable but not rich. I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand. I'm not stupid. I'm not some desperate old fool. I spent 3 decades in automotive engineering. I've managed teams, negotiated contracts, made decisions on million-dollar equipment purchases. And yet, over the course of nearly 2 years, I sent more than $26,000 to a woman I never met in person. If you're in an online relationship right now or thinking about it, or you know someone who is, don't click away. Because what happened to me is happening right now to someone just like me, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened and why. It was early 2021, January, February. COVID was still pretty bad, you know. Everyone was isolated. I'd been divorced for 7 years. My ex-wife remarried and moved to Arizona. My daughter lived in Chicago with her family. I saw them maybe 3-4 times a year. I was lonely. Really lonely. Look, in those 7 years after the divorce, I wasn't completely alone. I had 3 girlfriends during that time. Casual relationships, you know. 2 Americans and 1 Filipino woman, all living in the States, all in their 30s, 40s. We did normal couple stuff. Went out, spent time together, had intimate time like any couple. But none of them wanted to settle down, get married. There was one, Grace, American woman, late 30s. I really liked her. I mean, really thought she could be the one, but she didn't want marriage. Said something about wanting to focus on her career, or maybe it was commitment issues from her past. I don't know. I'm still not entirely sure why she said no. So by late 2020, the last year or so, all through COVID, I had no girlfriend. And the loneliness, man, it was on a different level. Really hit me hard. I thought maybe I should try online dating. I tried the usual apps. Tinder felt too young for me. Match was, I don't know, it just wasn't working. Then a buddy of mine at work, Steve, good guy. He mentioned ThaiCupid. Said his cousin met his wife on there. Been married 6 years, really happy. I figured, why not? Look, I know the perception around dating a foreigner, especially from Asia or developing nations, that they just want to secure the green card, that they're gold diggers, all that stuff. But honestly, if a Thai woman I liked was willing to settle down with me, I didn't really mind sponsoring her visa to the States. I've tried dating here in America. Didn't work. I made a profile on ThaiCupid. Put up a couple photos. Nothing fancy. Just me at a Lions game. One from a work retirement party. Within a week, I had maybe 20-30 messages. Most were obviously fake. Hello, handsome sir. I looking for serious man for marriage. That kind of stuff. Broken English. Photos that looked like they came from magazines. I even sent messages to profiles I found interesting. Profiles that looked real, you know. I only got a reply from one profile, and she said I wasn't her type. My age, I think, was what gave me out there. One day while I was at work, I received a notification on my phone that I got a message. I hurriedly checked, hoping one of the profiles I'd sent messages to had replied. But that wasn't the case. Instead, I got a new message from Prija. I hadn't sent her a message before, so I was suspicious at first. But when I looked at her profile, it was different. Different from the profiles I'd received messages from since I created my account, which most were obviously fake. Prija's profile photo showed a young woman, pretty, but not like model perfect or anything. She was 24, living in Udon Thani, Thailand, worked as a caregiver at a private nursing home. Her profile said something like she enjoyed cooking, weekend trips to some park with friends, and reading. Which, I thought was kind of charming. Her first message to me was something like, "Hi Joe, I noticed you work in automotive engineering. That's really interesting. What kind of work do you do there?" It felt normal, professional even. Not flirty, not weird. Just, curious. We started messaging back and forth. She asked about my work, I asked about hers. She told me about Udon Thani, the food, the temples, working with elderly patients. She sent photos of her day, lunch with co-workers, beach trips with friends. Nothing felt staged, just regular life. Maybe 3 weeks in, she suggested a video call. She said something like, "I'd rather see who I'm talking to. Too many fake profiles on these sites." I respected that. It showed she was careful. Our first call, I remember it clearly. She said she was at her friend's place visiting. Small apartment, 1 bedroom. I could see a little kitchen in the background, clothes drying on a rack. It looked real, lived in. Prija was articulate, funny. She had this genuine laugh. She asked about my divorce. Not nosy, just interested. Told me about her ex-boyfriend who'd left her for someone else. We talked about movies. She loved old romantic comedies. Toward the end of the call, she said, and I remember this, "Joe, I know I'm not rich or anything. I don't earn a lot as a caregiver, but I earn enough to get by. I'm not looking for someone to take care of me. I just want something real." I believed her. Hell, I admired her for saying it. What I didn't know, what I didn't know, is that everything I just described was carefully planned. The apartment was probably rented just for video calls. Her job as a caregiver might have been real, but everything else? Her interests, the honest disclaimer, the way she laughed, all of it was designed to make me trust her. And it worked. We started talking every day. Video calls, voice messages, texts. Prija would message me good morning, which was evening for her because of the time difference. She'd send me photos of her day, patients she was caring for, faces blurred for privacy, weekend trips to nearby provinces with friends, family dinners. Here's what made it feel real. She never asked for anything, not money, not gifts, nothing. She was just there, present in my life. She'd remember things I told her weeks earlier. Like I'd mention a problem at work, and 2 weeks later she'd ask how it worked out. Or I'd tell her my daughter was visiting and she'd ask how it went. That attention, man, that meant something. About 2 or 3 months in, I sent her flowers. Cost me about $60, delivered to the nursing home where she worked. She video called me, crying, happy tears. She showed me the flowers at the nursing home. One of her co-workers teasing her in the background, congratulating her. She said something like, "Joe, no one's ever done anything like this for me." That's when I started falling for her. When someone tells you you've given them something they've never had, that's powerful. We talked about meeting in person. I wanted to fly to Thailand, but the borders were still partially closed to tourists because of COVID. The whole thing was complicated. Quarantines, specific destinations only. Prija said, when things fully opened up, maybe she could save up and visit me first. Said she wanted to see my world first. Thailand opened to vaccinated tourists in November 2021 under the Test and Go program. By July 2022, they'd fully reopened. But by then, other things had already started happening. I think it was 4, maybe 5 months in when things changed. Just slightly. Prija told me more about her family. She lived with her father and 3 younger siblings in a small 2-bedroom house in Udon Thani. 5 of them total. Her mother had passed away 2 years earlier, from some illness. Priya was the second born, but after her father, she was the second highest earner in the family. Her father drove a motorcycle taxi, those motorbike taxis they have over there. Honest work, but the money wasn't great. Her older sister works at some restaurant. Her 2 younger siblings were still in school. Priya helped with expenses when she could. Groceries, school supplies, utilities. One day, maybe a month after she'd mentioned her father's work, she told me his motorcycle was breaking down constantly. It was maybe 8, 10 years old. Repairs were costing more than the thing was worth. The family was trying to save for a down payment on a newer used motorcycle. Total cost was around 60,000 baht, about 1,700 US dollars. They'd saved maybe 35,000 baht, but they were still 25,000 baht short. Prija talked about it like it was just a family problem, not asking me for anything, just sharing what was going on in her life. Maybe 2 weeks later, she called me. Her voice was stressed. She told me her father's motorcycle had broken down completely. The engine seized up. He couldn't work, couldn't earn money. The family was scrambling. They needed that down payment now, 25,000 baht, about 700 US dollars, or her father would lose his route to another driver. Here's the thing, she didn't ask me for it. She just told me about the problem. Said her father was trying to borrow from relatives, that they'd figure it out somehow. I made the decision myself. I told her I want to help, that it's just $700. I can send it tonight. She refused. Twice. Said we'd only been talking a few months, that she couldn't take my money. What would I think of her? To be honest, that refusal, that made me trust her more. She wasn't a gold digger. She was proud. I insisted. Told her I was 58 years old, that I had a good job, that $700 meant nothing to me but everything to her father's livelihood. She cried, thanked me, said her family would pay me back someday. I sent the money that night through Western Union. 2 days later, she sent me photos. Her father with a newer motorcycle, not brand new, but functional. She sent me a voice message from him, broken English, thanking me. It felt incredible, like I'd made a real difference. What I didn't know, that $700 was a test. To see if I'd send money, to see how much resistance I'd put up, to see if I'd feel good about it afterward. I passed their test, or failed it, depending on how you look at it, because now they knew I was a viable target. Maybe a month or so later, Priya told me about her dream. She'd always wanted to be a registered nurse. She'd studied for it, got her nursing degree from Udon Thani Rajabat University, but never took the licensing exam from the Thailand Nursing and Midwifery Council. Life got in the way after her mom died. She needed to work, her family needed money, and preparing for the exam was expensive. But now, she said, she was thinking about finally taking it. If she passed, she could work as a registered nurse, earn way more money, maybe even work abroad someday, help her family more. The problem was the review course. This is like a refresher program since she graduated previously but did not take the exam immediately. To pass the exam, most people took a 3-month intensive review course. Cost was around 25,000 baht, about 700 US dollars. Plus the exam fee, materials, another 8,000 baht. Total, 33,000 baht, roughly $900. She'd been saving, she said. Had about 12,000 baht. She was thinking about borrowing the rest from her aunt, paying it back over time. I asked her when the next exam was. She said in about 4 months. I didn't offer money right away. Not this time. 2 weeks later, she called me. She was upset. Her aunt couldn't lend her the money after all, some family emergency on that side. The deadline to register for the review course was in a week. If she missed it, she'd have to wait another 6 months for the next exam cycle. She said to me, while her voice was breaking, that she didn't know what to do, that this was her chance. She wasn't directly asking, just sharing her disappointment. This was what I thought at the time, but looking back now, I see it differently. I see it as an intentional act, like mind games. Well, I made the decision myself. I said something like, Prija, let me help. This is your future. Let me do this. She refused at first, said it was too much. I insisted. Told her it was an investment in her future, in our future. That when she became a registered nurse, everything would change. She said she could cover 12,000 baht from her savings. I sent $600 to cover the rest. Priya sent me photos. The review center, her enrolled in the course, holding her registration papers, smiling. Over the next few months, she sent me updates. How the review was going, what topics they were covering, how stressed she was. 3 months later, she took the exam. Said it was really hard, but she felt okay about it. A month after that, the results came out. She failed. She called me crying, not the happy kind. She was devastated. Said she'd studied so hard that she didn't understand what went wrong. I felt terrible for her. Then, maybe a week later, she said she wanted to try again. The retake exam was in about a month. She'd need to pay the exam fee again, plus some refresher review sessions. Total, 18,000 baht, about $500. She said she'd try to save up, ask her father, figure it out. I didn't hesitate this time. I sent $500. A month later, she took the exam again. This time, she passed. She video called me crying, happy tears this time, showing me the results online, her name on the list of passers. She was officially a registered nurse now. "Joe, I couldn't have done this without you," she said. "You changed my life." That felt real. That felt like I'd invested in something meaningful. What I didn't know, I have no idea if she actually took those exams. Maybe the first one was real. Maybe the second was fabricated. Maybe both were lies. The costs were probably inflated either way. I'd sent $1,100 total for the nursing exams. She probably pocketed at least some of it. My total sent now at $1,800. About 2 months after Prija became a nurse, or claimed to, things were going well. She was applying for nursing jobs, talking about her future, our future. Then, one night, I think it was around 3 a.m. my time, she called me. She was sobbing, hysterical, could barely speak. Her younger brother, Ananda, had been in a terrible accident. He'd been riding on the back of his friend's motorcycle. A pickup truck hit them. The motorcycle was completely destroyed. Ananda's friend was in the ICU, unconscious, in a coma. Ananda wasn't in the ICU, but he had major injuries, broken ribs, collapsed lung, internal bleeding. He needed surgery immediately. Prija was at the hospital. She was panicking. The hospital bill for Ananda's surgery alone was 150,000 baht, about $4,000. Thailand's universal coverage scheme would cover most of it for Thai citizens. But Ananda was registered at a different hospital, back in their home district. Since this was an emergency at a private hospital in the city, the family had to pay up front and claim reimbursement later, which would take weeks and wouldn't cover everything. The family had to pay 120,000 baht up front before the surgery. And Ananda's friend, God, his family had nothing. The friend's hospital bill was already over 80,000 baht and climbing. The friend was in critical condition, needed to stay in the ICU, but his family couldn't even afford the minimum deposit to keep treatment going. Prija said to me, crying so hard she could barely breathe, "I don't know what to do. Ananda's my brother. He's only 20 years old. And his friend needs help too. His family is begging for help, but we have nothing." Her father was trying to borrow money. Her aunt was contributing what she could, maybe 8,000 baht. Prija had maybe 12,000 baht in savings. But they were still massively short. What was I supposed to say? Let her brother die? Let his friend die when I had the money? I sent $4,500 for Ananda's surgery and immediate care. Then, 2 days later, Prija called again. Ananda's friend's family was desperate. They needed at least 45,000 baht, about $1,200, to keep the friend in the ICU, to continue treatment. Without it, the hospital would move him to a regular ward where he might not survive. I sent another $900, not the full amount they needed. I figured the friend's family and their relatives should contribute too, but enough to help bridge the gap. Prija sent me photos from the hospital. Ananda in a hospital bed, bandages, looking pale but alive. Medical documents. Hospital bills with my payments credited. The friend in the ICU, tubes everywhere. The surgeries went ahead. Ananda recovered slowly. The friend eventually came out of the coma, though it took weeks. Priya sent me voice messages from Ananda thanking me, from her father, from Ananda's friends' family, literally everyone, all thanking me. That felt like I'd helped save lives. 2 young men who would have died without my help. What I didn't know. Ananda probably was in an accident, probably was injured. His friend probably was too. Or probably none of it happened. But the bills were almost certainly inflated. The universal coverage scheme probably covered more than she claimed. The family probably had more resources than she let on. I'd sent $5,500 total for the accident. Maybe the real costs were $3,000 or much less. She probably pocketed $2,000 to $3,000. Now I've spent roughly $8,000. A few weeks after Ananda came home from the hospital, Prija had good news. She'd been offered a nursing job at a private hospital in Udon Thani. Good hospital, she said. Decent reputation. The salary was 18,000 baht a month, about $500. Way more than she'd been making as a caregiver. But there was a requirement. The hospital required new nurses to complete a 2-month orientation and training program. During training, they'd only get a stipend, 8,000 baht a month instead of full salary. And there were upfront costs, uniforms, medical clearances, police clearance, training materials, vaccinations. Total, 15,000 baht, about $400. Prija said she'd try to save up from her caregiver job, maybe ask her father to help. I didn't want her struggling or delaying the opportunity. I sent $400. She started the training program. Sent me photos in her nurse's uniform at the hospital during orientation sessions. 2 months later, she officially started as a staff nurse. I was so proud of her. Over the next several months, from maybe mid-2022 into early 2023, there were other things, smaller amounts, but they added up. Her phone broke, screen shattered when she dropped it at work. She needed it for her job, for us to communicate. I sent $150 for a replacement. Her mother's death anniversary. The family wanted to hold a memorial merit-making ceremony at the temple, feed monks afterward. It's tradition there, she said. I sent $130. Her younger sister needed school supplies and fees for the new semester. The family was stretched thin after Ananda's accident. I contributed financially. Her father had a medical checkup. High blood pressure, needed medication, follow-up tests. I contributed. Her sister graduated from high school. The family wanted to celebrate, buy her a small gift, have a graduation dinner. As usual, I contributed. And other small emergencies I can't even fully remember now. Another $400, maybe $500. Scattered across different months. Here's the thing. Priya or her family would always contribute something. Her father would scrape together 4,000 baht. Priya would put in 2,500 baht from her salary. An aunt or uncle would chip in 1,500 baht. But I was covering 85% to 90% of everything. It felt like a family effort. Like we were building something together. Like I was part of their family. A few weeks after Ananda came home from the hospital, Prija had good news. She'd been offered a nursing job at a private hospital in Udon Thani. Good hospital, she said. Decent reputation. The salary was 18,000 baht a month, about $500. Way more than she'd been making as a caregiver. But there was a requirement. The hospital required new nurses to complete a 2-month orientation and training program. During training, they'd only get a stipend, 8,000 baht a month instead of full salary. And there were upfront costs, uniforms, medical clearances, police clearance, training materials, vaccinations. Total, 15,000 baht, about $400. Prija said she'd try to save up from her caregiver job, maybe ask her father to help. I didn't want her struggling or delaying the opportunity. I sent $400. She started the training program. sent me photos in her nurse's uniform at the hospital during orientation sessions. 2 months later, she officially started as a staff nurse. I was so proud of her. Over the next several months, from maybe mid-2022 into early 2023, there were other things, smaller amounts, but they added up. Her phone broke, screen shattered when she dropped it at work. She needed it for her job, for us to communicate. I sent $150 for a replacement. Her mother's death anniversary. The family wanted to hold a memorial merit-making ceremony at the temple, feed monks afterward. It's tradition there, she said. I sent $130. Her younger sister needed school supplies and fees for the new semester. The family was stretched thin after Ananda's accident. I contributed financially. Her father had a medical checkup. High blood pressure, needed medication, follow-up tests. I contributed. Her sister graduated from high school. The family wanted to celebrate, buy her a small gift, have a graduation dinner. As usual, I contributed. And other small emergencies I can't even fully remember now. Another $400, maybe $500. Scattered across different months. Here's the thing. Prija or her family would always contribute something. Her father would scrape together 4,000 baht. Prija would put in 2,500 baht from her salary. An aunt or uncle would chip in 1,500 baht. But I was covering 85% to 90% of everything. It felt like a family effort, like we were building something together, like I was part of their family. A few months after the accident, Ananda needed physical therapy sessions to regain full mobility. His ribs had healed, but his lung capacity wasn't back to normal. He needed follow-up medical appointments. He needed crutches and some kind of breathing equipment for exercises. The costs weren't huge, maybe 6,000 baht here, 4,000 baht there, but they kept coming. Prija said her father was covering what he could. She was helping too, but they were still struggling. Over maybe 2 months, I sent around $650 total for Ananda's recovery expenses. By late 2022, maybe early 2023, we'd been together for well over a year. Prija started talking about wanting to move out. She said living with her father and siblings in a 2-bedroom house was getting cramped. She was 25, approaching 26 by then, working as a nurse, earning her own money. She felt like at her age she should have her own place. She'd been looking at studio apartments near the hospital. Found one she liked, small, nothing fancy, but her own space. Rent was 7,000 baht a month, about $200. But to rent in Thailand as a first-time renter, you need to pay 2 months deposit plus 1 month advance. Total, 25,000 baht, about $600. She had maybe 8,000 baht saved. She was short about 13,000 baht, roughly $360. She said she'd keep saving, try to make it work over the next few months. I didn't want her waiting or struggling. I sent $400 to cover the rest and give her a little extra. As usual, Prija sent me photos. Photos of the apartment. Small studio, simple kitchen area, a little bathroom. She sent me a video tour, smiling, excited, thanking me. She said, "Joe, this is the first place that's ever been mine. Thank you." That felt good. Like I'd helped her achieve independence, build a life. At this point, you must have noticed, she is always sending proof, pictures, videos, documents, whatever, to always back up and justify her claims and requests. And this is why I keep falling for it. Maybe she did rent the apartment. Maybe she didn't. I guess I'll never know. Now my total spent is well over $12,000. By this point, early 2023, maybe February or March, I'd had enough of waiting. COVID restrictions were over. Thailand was fully open. I was ready to meet in person. But Prija said she wants to visit me first. Visit me in Detroit, see my world, meet my daughter if she was comfortable with it. I understood. I supported it. but US tourist visas for Thais are strict. She'd need to show financial stability, ties to Thailand, proof she'd return home. Her bank account needed to show at least 150,000 baht in consistent savings for a strong application. She'd been working as a nurse for several months by then, but she'd only saved about 50,000 baht. She was 100,000 baht short, about $2,800. She said she could borrow it from a friend temporarily, just for the bank statements to show the visa officer. But her friend wanted interest for a 3-month loan. I didn't want her paying interest. I sent $3,000 to boost her bank balance. Then there were more expenses: the visa application fee itself, document processing fees, a required certificate of employment from her hospital with notarization, travel insurance to show the visa officer. Over maybe 3 weeks, I sent another $750 in smaller amounts. Total for the first visa attempt, $3,700. The application was submitted. We waited. Prija was nervous, excited. We talked every day about what we'd do, when she visited, where we'd go, what I'd show her in Detroit, whether she'd meet my daughter. About 5 weeks later, the visa was denied. Reason: insufficient evidence of ties to Thailand, risk of overstaying. Prija was devastated. I was furious at the system, at the bureaucracy. We'll try again, I told her. We'll make the application stronger. A few months later, maybe June or July 2023, Prija wanted to try again. This time she said they'd do it right. She'd hire a visa consultant who specialized in US tourist visas for Thais. The consultant would help prepare documents, coach her for the interview, make sure everything was perfect. The consultant's fee was 35,000 baht, about $1,000. Plus, since she'd been denied before, the visa officer would scrutinize her application even more. Her bank account needed to show even more savings this time, at least 250,000 baht. She had maybe 100,000 baht by then. She needed another 150,000 baht, about $4,200. I was hesitant this time. That was a lot. I even thought maybe I should visit her instead. It'd be easier, but I just don't. Why I didn't take the decision at the time? Priya said this was the final attempt. If it didn't work, she'd accept it, and we'd find another way. Maybe I'd visit Thailand instead. I sent the $4,200 for the bank balance boost. Then the consultant fees, $1,000, plus additional document fees, another medical exam required for the second attempt, updated employment papers, another $180. Total for the second visa attempt, about $5,380. Weeks went by. Priya kept me updated. The consultant was working on her documents, preparing her for the interview. Then the interview was scheduled. She was nervous, practicing her answers. A week or so later, she called me. Denied again. This time the reason was vague. Something about insufficient purpose of visit or ties to home country. I was crushed. She was crushed. We'd spent nearly $8,500 on visa attempts. Nothing to show for it. "I'm sorry, Joe," she said. "I feel like I wasted your money." I told her it wasn't her fault, that the system was unfair. What I didn't know, I doubt she ever applied. The consultant probably didn't exist. The denial letters were probably fake. My over $8,000 went straight into her pocket. At this point, I've sent roughly $20,000 to her and her cause in the span of 2 years. By late summer 2023, I'd had enough. I didn't care about visas anymore. I was going to Thailand. I booked a flight to Udon Thani for September, non-refundable. Round trip from Detroit cost me about $1,900. When I told Prija, she seemed weird about it. Not excited exactly, hesitant maybe. She said she'd meet me at my hotel, that she'd take time off work, that she was nervous but happy. But as September got closer, things started to feel off. Her messages slowed down, took hours to get responses. Video calls got cancelled, work emergency, family thing, she wasn't feeling well, her phone was acting up. 2 weeks before my flight, she started going quiet for longer stretches. I messaged her on WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Line. Delivered. Sometimes read, sometimes not. Responses were short, vague. 1 week before my flight, almost complete silence. I called her number. Voicemail. I flew to Udon Thani anyway. What else was I going to do? I'd already paid for the flight, and part of me still believed she was real, that there was just some misunderstanding. I landed in Udon Thani on a Friday afternoon, checked into my hotel, a decent mid-range place, nothing fancy. Cost me about $65 a night, booked for 5 nights. I messaged Prija. I'm here, at the hotel. When can you come? No response. I called her number. Disconnected. That's when the fear really started to set in. I waited at the hotel that whole evening. Nothing. The next day, Saturday, I tried to find her. I took a taxi to the address she'd given me for her father's house, the 2-bedroom place where she said she'd lived before getting the apartment. It was a small house in a crowded neighborhood. I knocked. A woman answered, maybe mid-40s, 3 kids behind her. She didn't speak much English. I asked for Prija, showed her a photo on my phone. She shook her head. No Prija. Didn't know her. Different family had lived there for years. I went to the hospital where she claimed to work. Asked at the front desk for Prija. Gave them her full name. They checked their staff directory. No one by that name. No nurse matching her description. I went to the nursing home where she'd originally said she worked. Same thing. No Prija. By Sunday, I knew. I knew it was all fake. But I needed proof. I needed to understand. I asked the hotel concierge if he knew anyone who could help. A local investigator, someone who could track people down. He gave me a contact. Guy named Somkid, former police officer, did private investigation work. I met Somkid. Sunday afternoon. Paid him $120 up front. Gave him everything. Prija's photos, phone number, bank account details, the addresses she'd given me, screenshots of our conversations. Somkid worked fast. By Monday evening, he had answers. The real Prija in the photos, her name was actually Prija, but she was 32 years old, married with 2 kids, lived in Bangkok, worked as a receptionist at a hotel. She had no idea her photos were being used. Somkid found her Facebook profile. Private, but the profile picture matched. She'd had those photos stolen, probably years ago. The woman I'd been talking to for nearly 2 years. Probably someone named Knock, or Ploy, or something completely different. Somkid found the same phone number and bank account, linked to scam reports from other foreigners on a Thai scam database. The motorcycle story, the nursing exam, Ananda's accident, the apartment, the visa applications. Somkid said some elements might have had grains of truth. Maybe there really was a family, maybe someone really had an accident. But it was all exaggerated, inflated, manipulated. Designed to extract money. I flew home Thursday morning. I'd spent 5 nights in that hotel, $325 total. Meals, taxis, trying to find her, the investigator. Another $220 or so. My trip to Thailand, the trip where I was supposed to finally meet the woman I loved, cost me about $2,600. And confirmed I'd lost everything else. Total loss. Approximately $22,000 in direct transfers to Prija. Plus the $2,600 for the trip itself. No wait. I forgot about the small stuff toward the end, the random expenses in those final months before the trip. Her nephew's hospital visit, some emergency at her father's work, another phone issue, probably another grand I sent in bits and pieces that I didn't even track carefully by then because I trusted her so completely. When I add everything up, the transfers, the trip, all the small things I've probably forgotten, it comes to around $26,000. $26,000. God, maybe more. When I got back to Detroit, I had to face reality. I'd mentioned Prija to my daughter back in mid-2022. Told her I was seeing someone, that it was getting serious. She'd been skeptical, not mean about it, just concerned. Asked questions like, Dad, have you actually met her in person? And why does she keep needing money if she has a job? I'd gotten defensive. Told her she didn't understand, that Prija was different, that she was just helping her family, that it's Thai culture, Asian culture, that not everyone was a scammer. Now I had to call my daughter and admit she was right. That conversation. God, that was harder than losing the money. Hearing the worry in her voice, the disappointment. Not disappointment in me exactly, but disappointment that this had happened to me, that I'd been hurt. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just said, "Dad, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" I wasn't okay. I had to dip into my savings to cover the loss. $26,000, that was a chunk of my retirement fund. Money I'd worked decades to save. I'm 62 now, retired from GM about 8 months ago. My finances are stable, but tighter than they should be. That $26,000 would have made a real difference in retirement. Travel I wanted to do, home improvements, charity, helping my daughter if she needed it. Just security. But you know what the worst part is? It's not the money. It's knowing that everything I felt was manufactured. Every conversation, every laugh, every "I miss you," every "thank you for being there for me," every time she cried on camera, all of it was a performance. The nursing exam she supposedly passed probably never happened. Ananda's accident. Maybe real, maybe not, maybe exaggerated beyond recognition. Her dream of visiting me in Detroit, never real. Her feelings for me, never existed. I fell in love with someone who didn't exist. I've had a lot of time to think about this. How did I, a 60-year-old engineer at the time with nearly 3 decades at GM, fall for something like this? Here's what I figured out. Look, I'm not here asking for sympathy. I made my choices. I ignored the warning signs. I got defensive when my daughter questioned things. I sent money to someone I'd never met in person. But if you're in an online relationship right now, especially an international one, I want you to ask yourself some questions. 1. Have you met this person in person? If it's been more than 6 months and you haven't, why not? 2. Are you the only one sending money? Or are they contributing too, meaningfully? 3. Do emergencies keep happening that require your financial help? 4. Are the people who love you, your family, your friends, skeptical? Are you getting defensive when they ask questions? 5. Have you verified their identity independently, not just through video calls, but actually confirmed they are who they say they are? I answered wrong on every single one of those questions, and I still didn't see it. I still didn't want to believe it. International relationships can be real. International love can work. I know and have heard of couples who met online, who live thousands of miles apart, who made it work. But international romance scams are just as real, and they're devastatingly effective. The woman who scammed me, whoever she really is, she's probably still out there, probably running the same game on someone else right now. Maybe she's Prija to them too. Maybe she's using a different name, different photos, different story, but the same tactics. And somewhere, right now, there's a man like me, 58, 62, 55, doesn't matter, who's lonely, who wants to believe, who's sending money to someone he thinks loves him. I can't get my $26,000 back. It's gone. The Thai police can't help. It's just gone. But if this story stops even one person from making the same mistake I did, then at least something good came out of this disaster. Verify everything. Trust cautiously. Protect your heart, but protect your wallet too. And never, never send money to someone you've never met in person. I learned that lesson the hardest way possible. Don't let it happen to you. Thank you for listening to Joe's story. If you picked something out of this, tap on the like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment. Have you or someone you know been in a situation like this? What other red flags do you see that Joe missed? Thanks for watching Thai Journals.